Hi, sixth grade. We are going to do a review of adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions this week. So we are going to start out today with adding and subtracting some fractions. First thing I want to show you is how to do that if you have the same denominator. To do that, you guys need to remember that your denominator, your bottom number, shows you how many pieces your fraction is broken into. So say we had 3/4 plus 2/4. So we're adding fourths here. Both of our fractions are broken into fourths. So what that means is our answer is still going to be broken into fourths. All we have to do here is add our two numerators, sorry. We get 5/4, and then we make that proper by deciding how many times does our denominator go into our numerator and what is our remainder. So that is adding fractions if you have the same denominator already. To subtract fractions, just use those same fractions here. Our answer is still going to be in fourths. We had 3, we took 2 away, so we have 1 left. If you guys have mixed numbers, so say you had 2.5 plus 3.5. What you can do here is change to an improper number if you need to. And by need to, I mean, why not try adding your fractions, adding your whole numbers, and seeing if you can figure it out that way? If not, then change it to improper. So I'll show you both ways. If we're going to go to improper, we would do our denominator times our whole number plus our numerator. So we have 5/2 plus 7/2. We add our numerators, and that's going to reduce to 6. If instead we say, well, what's 1/2 plus 1/2? It's 2/2, which is the same as 1 whole. And then we'd add that to our whole numbers, and again, we get 6. You can do it whichever way you're more comfortable with. I think the further along you go, the more comfortable you get with this adding, not going to improper and then adding. The other part of adding and subtracting fractions, of course, is that majorly important part that you have to have the same denominator. If you don't, you need to make sure that you do so that you can add or subtract. So you may want to take a note. The most important thing when you are adding or subtracting fractions is that you have like denominators. Say we have 2/3 plus 4/5. To be able to add that, we would have to get the same denominator. So that's why we've been talking about least common multiple, because we want to find the smallest number that both of these go into. In this case, it is 15. Once you do that, you need to figure out, well, how did I go from 3 to 15? Well, I multiplied by 5. To keep it a legal math move, you then also have to multiply by 5 up here. So really and truly, we are multiplying by 5/5, which is 1, which the identity property of multiplication says we can legally do. So when we multiply that out, we get 10/15. Over here, to go from 5 to 15, we had to multiply times 3. Make sure I do that to my numerator as well, and I get 12. Now I'm right back to where we were, where we have common denominators. We're going to add the numerators up, and then we decide how many times does my denominator go into my numerator, what's my remainder, and there you have it. Always make sure that you reduce your final fraction. So had we been able to reduce 7/15, we would need to do that. Let's take a look at another one. If I had, say, 7/24 minus 1/8. So we need to find a common denominator, which in this case is 24. Its first fraction stays the same. second one I had to multiply by 3, so I do that on my denominator and my numerator. And now I can subtract, and this one I can divide, or I can reduce, sorry. So I do that, and I get 1/6. Notice again, I have to divide by the same number on the top and the bottom to keep it a legal math move. Sometimes you're going to have mixed numbers here. Again, you can go to improper if you need to. If not, let me show you one where we are actually going to borrow from our whole number, which is pretty cool. So say I have 3 2/3, and from that I'm going to subtract 1 5/6. So I'm going to get a common denominator here, which would be 6. So I'm going to change this to, I'm actually going to change this. Oh no, it's fine, sorry. So I have this now where I'm still subtracting. I can't do 4 minus 5, so I need to borrow from this whole number. So when I'm borrowing, that's going to go from 3 to 2. I'm going to add 6/6 to this, which is the one that I took from here, changed into 6. So 4/6 plus 6/6 equals 10/6. Now I can subtract 5 minus 5 is 5. 2 minus 1 is 1, and your answer is 1 5/6. So that's it for our adding and subtracting fractions review. I'm going to attach a worksheet for you guys to try some of, and then I will be back later in the week with multiplying and dividing fractions. Woohoo!